all over the edge. But I think I'm okay now. I'm here, I'm in. Nice to see both of you.
Yeah, lovely to see you. And I'm loving the top already. Right?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think
brand.
so too. Me too. So it's all about brand association, which is a good thing. So I want to kick off with it and kind of have a look and see how we looking, because this is kind of like a bit of a masterclass. And I want to know, how would you describe, and Kenzie, this is for you, South Africa's brand identity, and how does that feed into the country and for what we are known for?
It's such an interesting question to start off with, and maybe before I go into it, I really want to give a shout out to SA Tourism and Brand South Africa team, because they really do help position South Africa globally and also, locally in South Africa. But maybe what I'll do is just, if you have to take, and I still call it Twitter, I don't know how to call it X, but if you have to take, if you have to take a sliver of the conversation that happens on Twitter, I think it'll give you a sense of what the identity of South Africa. One is incredibly diverse. Two is like a lot of chutzpah. Three is honestly like people who, I guess you'd say, will always go for gold, even if they don't quite achieve gold. So people who really want to achieve. At the same time, because of the diversity, not necessarily one voice all the time, but what I've noticed on Twitter is that if you come for us as a country, we rally back. we literally come back and stuff.
You do not mess with us.
You do not mess with us. So every time I've seen conversations where someone says something negative about South Africa, I love the responses, because that's when the unity of South Africa really comes together. So I guess for us as a brand, that identity that South Africa has in terms of chutzpah, diverse, do not come for us, and the unity when it's required is very much something that we tap into as a brand as well in terms of the work that we do.
I love that. Pepe?
No, I was just thinking, I always make myself aware when I want to judge the leaders of our country, that they're running a business of 60 million people.
Yeah.
And so from a brand point of view, it's the same thing. Nedbank's a brand with 26,000 people. Joe Public's a brand with 300 people, and it's complex. So I always find when systems are so complex, we need to really simplify things. So also shout out to Brand South Africa in such a complex situation to do work or to create a sense of something we're really proud of. I don't think we've distilled exactly what we stand for yet.
Yeah.
And that I think working on Nedbank is almost our competitive advantage. There's a very clear purpose to the Nedbank brand. That doesn't start from a marketing point of view, it starts from a senior executive leadership. So we follow that guidance, and to me that's creating a level of salience. So that's maybe an opportunity for Brand South Africa, is what is our salience? Because we don't know how to bottle our country exactly what we stand for, but yeah.
And the right elements are there, Leah, and that's, I think, the point. It's really how do you then take that and distill it into an essence. So, for example, Nedbank's essence is money experts who do good. So that's the line that I think Pepe is talking to, like that distillation of what it is. But we've got great, what I would call dimensions that I think we can work with to really build it. This is our national identity.
Yeah. Gee whiz, I mean, if I think of what we stand for, sometimes I hate always attributing ourselves to sports, because that's what lands up happening, isn't it? But there was just a moment, and I know many of you, for those of you that did see it, and I think a lot of you did, it was the singing of that national anthem when we were at Loftus. I don't know if you guys felt it too. Yeah. And if you talk about bottling something, man, I wish we could bottle that.
But so that, I get very excited when I talk about when these conversations come up, because interestingly, Brand South Africa's positioning line is inspiring new ways.
Yeah.
And when I think about this country is really inspirational. It can be. We all have a light and a dark side, but when this country operates on its light side, it's super inspiring. So in a way, there's like a nugget within that positioning, but then to deliver on that positioning is where, implementation. I want to be fit, but do I go to gym?
Yeah.
But I think there's a nugget there that one can do a lot with. Because
Yeah.
new ways, it's a new South Africa.
And it is.
Diversity is the
the
cornerstone of
government of
creativity.
national
It's like,
unity.
yes,
All of
the
that.
new government of national
We heard it
unity.
this morning. We heard it this morning from the COO. Sentiment versus action. Sentiment versus action. The sentiment is there. It always is there with us. But it's the action that we fail at sometimes. So let me go on to the next question. I mean, is there a role for brands to come in and help shape the national discourse? Nation building, non-racialism, these kind of conversations that I think are exceptionally important.
I absolutely believe so. I always think about the first brand in South Africa that showed a multiracial couple. In the time that they did that, must have been incredibly brave, right? But what were they saying to South Africans? This is acceptable. It's not a big thing. Brands that bring on LGBTQI plus voices into their communication are really basically making a stand and saying something. So absolutely brands can play a role in that, but also just in positioning. So if you think about, a brand like BMW for Germany, it talks about German excellence. So how do we build brands that are really linked to what we are as South Africa and what we stand for? Because it can really drive the narrative. You talk about a brand like Nike, when Colin Kaepernick was going through what he was going through, they made a stand, and said, actually, we're not going to stand for discrimination, and we're going to stand for diversity. So brands can play a really leading role in terms of saying, this is the type of country or society that we would like to see. And the shadow side of it is brands can also play a role in underlining stereotypes.
Yeah.
So we have to be incredibly careful about how do we talk about these things. And I'll give an example. Pepe doesn't know I was going to talk about this example, but we're cool. So when we were doing one of our most awarded campaign as a brand, which was the Secrets campaign, one of the stories that the agency put on the table was the stereotype that young black men go and, when they make money, they go buy cars, but if you go to their apartments in Midrand, there's no furniture.
Yeah.
And one of the... And
Can you hear the loud laughs? I'm just trying to see. I'm going to go to the parking lot later and see who is laughing over there.
So this is a stereotype that people have. And it was one of the stories that was put in as we had three different stories around how people can manage their money better. We had to make the call as Nedbank to say, we're not going to underline that stereotype because it's actually not true, first of all, and it's not right, and it doesn't build. It actually takes away. And we had a really good conversation about, as a brand, you have to make sure that you are a shining light and a guiding example of not underlining stereotypes that are negative.
Yeah.
So I just want to support that. And it's all consciousness. We are so diverse. You think that I'm Afrikaans white male, you would think I'm the same as another Afrikaans white male. No, we're different. I'm married to an English woman, as an example. I grew up in Cape Town, the other one's maybe from Priska. And you can do that on all of it. So it's super diverse and complex. But you're right, when you start doing the brand work and you're actually putting a spotlight on something that's maybe 1 in 50, yes, it could be funny, it could get a response, but what are you saying as a brand? You're actually highlighting a negative. So you're perpetuating something that's actually not positive. Mm-hmm. So that's why we then swung it. But I wanted to say something while Khensani was speaking. I was like, what am I going to say? Khensani's so smart. But I thought...
He just became a doctor, so he forgets.
Just because I wanted to be one up on Khensani. She's got a master's, I thought I'll do doctorate. But the interesting thing is, in our world of marketing, the biggest spend is behind the media. So if you run a piece of work, 60-second on carte blanche is like 400,000 rand, boom, once. The biggest ad spend in our country is behind negative news. If you had to run our sort of science of advertising against news, online platforms, it must be billions per rand. Brands have the biggest pot of money to counter that. And to me, overall, that's such an amazing privilege. You can use our 70 billion, but now again, not everyone's as aware of the power that's in our hands to actually advocate positivity, brands, not always things that make you laugh, we chatted about it, but just powerful messages that shifts people's behavior. That's what we have the power to do. And that's how you can help the country to go into a new trajectory.
Yeah. I mean, I can talk about a lot of CSI examples, but I actually want to stick more to the marketing piece. I mean, we've just done work now with Joe Public, honoring the youth of 1976. And if you think about what we did, we got a journalist to actually do some homework around the young people outside of Hector Peterson who actually died in June 16, 1976. And we've then taken those names and we've honored them in schools around South Africa on their honors boards. So if you think about it, 2023 will be Leanne Manes, and then 1976 is a child who died during the 1976 riots. It is, and then we've brought the families of those young kids there. I mean, I was speaking to Ntate Malloy, whose son we honored, who said to me, it's almost 50 years and no one has ever actually recognized the fact that my son died for this, for the country that we live in currently. You know
Amazing.
what I mean? So, again, as a brand, you can look at that and go, shit, if I... sorry.
Don't you worry. Carry on, carry on.
As a brand, you might look at all of that and think, I don't want to get into a conversation that can be polarizing, but that's our history. And all we have to do is honor our history so that we can actually make sure that our young people understand the country that we come from, so that they can understand the opportunities that are there for them in moving forward based on the history that they come from. And brands must do that consciously without being nervous, because some of the campaigns you can, there's going to be backlash, but you take it on because you are doing the right thing for South Africa.
Yeah, I love that. And it is. I mean, sometimes brands have to take us out of a safe space and into a very uncomfortable place for us to say, yes, you're actually right, man. It hits so hard that you make people change, whether you like to believe it or not. If you're saying it, then it makes you think. It makes you think, and that's what I think brands are for. Perhaps we can maybe give us a bit of an example. I mean, what about the green economy? I mean, that's always this green brand, green economy. You guys have been doing it for as long as I can remember. The green brand. I mean, perhaps you want to talk about that issue.
I mean, for us, it's so interesting because it's a positioning. Well, first, it's a positioning element, right? You look at the color green and its growth in it, all of that, right? It's a positioning element, but it's also a national agenda element. We truly believe as a bank that if we grow jobs and entrepreneurship and skills development in the green economy, the impact on our GDP growth can be quite significant. So again, this is us as a brand saying it's not just growth for Nedbank, it's actually growth for South Africa. And then you then have to take it to the broader ecosystem and not just, so you look at CSI, for example. Our CSI strategy is very much how do we grow jobs, entrepreneurs, and skills development in the green economy. Acknowledgement of the ad that played just now during the ad break. As Nedbank Corporate Investment Banking, we are number one market share when it comes to funding green energy and then creating great work. So the job for Joe Public is then to tell, because it can sound boring, right? Create jobs, this and that. But then we rely on our agency to really make sure that they tell beautiful stories around the work that we're doing in the green economy space. And the ad that we have on CIB is how our bankers can actually see unexpected connections, be able to put solutions for clients, to really be able to grow sustainable businesses and make sure that we grow in the green economy space. And we've just won last week at the Creative Circle Awards, which they award monthly. We won number one ad of the month with Bank Your Time. We won number 2 ad of the month with the CIB campaign, and number 3 was we beat Chicken Licken, which is also their client. Which is also their client. So Joe Public was happy, but I was happy, yeah.
I'm sure.
Because a bank, for a bank to do work like
Unbelievable.
of this caliber, but that's why you
I understand a chicken outlet.
but a bank.
But a bank?
You think a bank is also
amazing.
serious. But the interesting thing, when I listen to, we listen to this conversation at a cognitive level at 2,000 bits per second. But this part of our bodies processes at 400 billion bits per second. So when you communicate, it's not just about the words, it's a depth of understanding. So I've worked on Nedbank for 12 years. No, it can't be that long.
It's 11 years. We celebrated 11 years.
So you start really getting the brand. So money experts who do good, the good part is actually, a part of it is making our economy sustainable.
Yeah.
So sustainability is green, but it's also making people financially sustainable, because we are not a financially sustainable nation for various reasons. Making businesses more financially sustainable. So you could fall in the trap to think sustainability is just the green side, which is a big part of Nedbank and CIB, but a massive part on the retail side. And on the business side is, how does the bank help businesses to be more sustainable, and how do we help people to be more sustainable? So then if we do campaigns that highlight the fact that we don't save as South Africans, that becomes one of our drives during Savings Month, is to do an activation to conscientize our people that I think about 78% of people in the middle market can't retire.
So the stat was 90% of South Africans cannot afford to retire. So when we did that campaign, again, it's nation building, because we're basically challenging people and we're saying you need to think about how you manage your money in a very different manner, because this is not sustainable, actually.
Yeah, amazing. I just looked at the clock. Let's ignore it, although I'm not going to ignore it, but there's just one or two more questions I need to just get to you. You know, the important thing as well, which I've realized, and that's something that Nedbank does do, and it's important, we've spoken about it, is to create brand campaigns that resonate with the nation. And they don't have to be feel-good campaigns, because we were chatting about feel-good. But the one I want to bring up as an example is the GBV, we haven't touched on this, that GBV financial abuse campaign. And as much as it's, like I said earlier, uncomfortable, it's necessary. Do you want to go there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I kept on getting challenged by the board, Exco, the public, Nedbank staff. What is Nedbank doing from a GBV perspective? And I think the one thing as a brand, as you drive this national discourse, you must always do it as authentically as you can in the context of your brand. Yeah. So we were never going to go out there and talk about GBV more broadly. But we very quickly discovered the insight that actually financial abuse is a significant issue in the market. Now, that's the role that a bank can play much more authentically and talk about. So I think beyond just driving the conversation around financial abuse, we're actually working on creating products that help, and it's mostly women, obviously, but I mean more broadly, that help people be able to get out of financially abusive relationships. So, for example, being able to save in secret without your partner knowing, because a lot of people stay in those type of relationships because they don't have the money to be able to get out.
So you have a product like that?
Yes, we do.
I'm just asking. I didn't know.
And what's great, Leanne, is that for me, it's not just an ad. It's a product that can actually save someone's life.
It's amazing.
By the time we do the advertising work for it, you've already changed someone's life. Do you know what I mean?
Jeez, yeah. Brilliant. That's great. Pepe, do you want to? No.
On this subject, as a man, I'm just going to listen.
Just agree with us. Yeah, just agree with us.
I've learned
I'm not going to tell you what my friends call that particular fund. You thought you swore earlier. You must hear them swear when they name what this fund is called. But it's interesting to know that. So with all of this, let's wrap it up. It's important, obviously, to balance the brand and the societal impact. And perhaps you want to just give the message as we wrap. Pepe, do you want to? Okay, go. Kenzie, you go.
Yeah, so I think we firmly believe, and it's another reason we sponsor the Top Empowerment Conference, right? Because we want to make sure that the conversations are happening to get South Africa to the right place. But fundamentally, if I leave you with one thing, we believe as a bank that we cannot be a sustainable and successful bank in an unsustainable and unsuccessful South Africa.
Absolutely.
And the minute you realize that the fortunes of your organization are linked to the fortunes of the success of this country, I think as a brand, you will step up to do the right thing.
Love that. Love that.
So the only thing that comes up, and it's maybe through a recent experience, I think brands are brand beings, countries are country beings, we are human beings, and we connected to nature. Nature works on dark and light, summer and winter, up and down. But we tend to sleep at night and work a day, so we embrace more the light side. So I do feel, even if you have a powerful message or something important, to come from a place of light is always better than dark. So my own mandate to myself is to remain positive no matter what I do, even with really, and I think that all our duty is to turn the country, we all must remain positive. It doesn't help to point finger, 3 points back at myself.
Yeah.
So, and we can use brands and ourselves as incredible, powerful tools. So, yeah.
Well done.
And maybe, Lian, sorry, I just want to say to Pepe, because they have been our partners in this journey, it is incredible to have an agency partner like Joe Public that believes in the same values and impact that you can make. And I'm very lucky that this is my creative partner.
Fantastic. Fist bump. Thank you so much to both of you. Really great pearls of wisdom.